They have clothes. Start with the pajamas. They also have blankets so you get totally decked out for sleeping. 100-night sleep trial, 10-year warranty. Cozier.com and use my code Mike Slater for up to 20% off. Code Mike Slater at the end for 20% off. And they have a post-purchase survey. You can mention Mike Slater there too. But to get the 20% off, use promo code Mike Slater at checkout. Cozier.com. Newsman, you like Newsmax? I like it too. Newsman, you like Newsmax? I like it too. It's true. Millions of Americans agree with President Trump, and they're switching to Newsmax. They're watching great shows with Greta, Carl Higbie, Rob Schmidt, Finnerty, and more. If you're tired of big media, start watching Newsmax. It's free to start. Go to newsmaxplus.com for immediate access. Get all of President Trump's most important events live. Imagine watching Mike Huckabee's Israel Report, our Melania documentary, Clint Eastwood, Charlie Kirk specials, even the movie Jesus of Nazareth by Franco Zeffirelli. Once you start Newsmax Plus, you won't stop. So try it for free. Go to newsmaxplus.com, then download the app. It's easy. So make the switch to Newsmax Plus today. The right to bear arms. Religious freedom. Conservative principles live here. We are Sirius XM Patriot, Channel 125. We are Patriot. Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomas. The FBI says it's not aware of any ongoing communication between the Guthrie family and the suspected kidnappers of Nancy Guthrie. Investigators say they have not identified any suspects or persons of interest. Here in front of Nancy Guthrie's house, Pima County Sheriff's deputies are now a constant presence, as are the media, as the search for the missing 84-year-old mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie stretches into another week. Neighbors pass by the house. Some just watch as investigators continue to comb over the property. The FBI and local authorities have been reviewing ransom notes sent to some local media. Guthrie's family took to social media over the weekend saying they would pay to have their mother back, but also want proof of life. Meanwhile, a small vigil has been set up outside of her home, and it keeps growing. In the Catalina Foothills neighborhood, outside of Tucson, Arizona, I'm Tyler. Another suspected drug-running boat has been blown out of the water by the U.S. military in the Eastern Pacific. 2 alleged narco-terrorists were killed. From the classroom to the picket line, almost 6,000 San Francisco public school teachers are on strike. The first such walkout in more than 45 years. Still being promised one thing and offered another. United Educators of San Francisco President Cassandra Curiel. And our demands for fully funded family health care 100% remain the same, not 75%. They are demanding higher wages, better health benefits, and more resources for special needs students. San Francisco has closed all 120 of its schools, offering independent study to some of the district's 50,000 students. Sound courtesy KGO. I'm Lisa Twiner. The House Homeland Security Committee will hear from Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons, a hearing scheduled for later this morning. On Wall Street, the Dow futures are down 59 points, so the NASDAQ futures are 9 points higher. S&P futures up a fraction. More on these stories at townhall.com. Attention investors, this affects you. Silver prices are exploding, with silver exceeding $100 a troy ounce for the first time. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 to get our free gold and silver investment guide. Plus, you'll also receive a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem, when you call now. Here's why it matters. Silver is a high liquidity, tangible, and affordable precious metal investment that serves as an industrial commodity and a store of value. It often outperforms gold during economic upturns. If you have an IRA or 401k, you can act now. Roll over a portion into a tax-advantaged gold and silver IRA backed by physical metals you actually own. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 and find out how you can get a tax and penalty-free rollover for a portion of your retirement funds for 2026. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000. The Lunar New Year crush in China expected to see travel in the billions. China's New Year travel rush is expected to record around 9.5 billion trips in an extended 9-day holiday in a country where workers are expected to put in long hours, including on weekends. A few days off over the Lunar New Year festival is precious time. Tian Duofu says she's been eagerly awaiting the holiday. She says it's become harder for her big family to get together now that she's started working full-time in Beijing. Liu Jiquan has got a 30-hour journey ahead of him to reach his family in Chengdu from Beijing. He chose to take the slow train to save money. He admits it's tiring, but says the economy is bad and that a high-speed train ticket costs $130. That's correspondent Lawrence Brooks reporting. News and analysis, Town Hall. I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. And I believe, for all I mean, that this country will be destroyed by people like you who think you are doing good while you divide. You divide into 7 different categories and pit against each other. Carrying on the legacy of Andrew Breitbart. This is Breitbart News Daily with your host, Mike Slater. America is the greatest country in the world. Good morning. My 3-year-old just said, Daddy, I ate my breakfast all. He doesn't. He puts all at the end of the sentence. And he puts big. He says, I want oatmeal big. It's funny. Not even all is funnier though. But instead of I ate my breakfast all. So that's what we do it. Yeah. And that's such a funny thing that families do is if someone mispronounces a word, some kid mispronounces a word, that's just the word now. We have declared that it is henceforth known as Paschetti. And it will always be Paschetti. Meat Bob is one. We call them Meat Bobs. Rather than Meat Bobs tonight for dinner. Not meatballs, Meat Bobs. To the point where you go out to a restaurant, you're like, I'll have the Meat Bobs. I'm sorry, meat balls, all. I'll have meatball, all the meatballs. I'll have 3 meat. Sorry. Love the kids. Too long here. Right, the breakfast, all. All right, got an answer earlier. Thank you, everyone, for telling me that 10 feet is the answer. 10 feet is the answer. Curling today, gold medal match in the mixed curling. One guy, one gal. Don't know why they did that, but whatever. We're going to win the gold medal today against Sweden at noon. Don't miss it. 10 feet is how far the difference can be between sweeping or not sweeping. And then the direction as well with the curl. It's actually pretty fun. We've watched 2 of their games so far. We watched the one yesterday versus Italy, the defending gold medalists. I didn't even know it was the semifinals. And then we watched it, they won with the last shot. And they're like, they're going to the gold medal match. We're like, wait, I didn't even know this. Is like, but they're still like in the round robins. This is it. Gold medals today at noon. Pretty fun to watch. All right. Let's go to this fella here. This is Gene Wu. W-U. Gene Wu is a member of the Texas. What in the world is going on in Texas? State House of Representatives. He represents Houston area. Bill, is it tomorrow we have the Texas double? Where's my phone? There. Tomorrow we got the primaries coming up. The Texas Senate primary. I'm looking at my phone. I have no idea what I'm looking at. Here, Jesus. I was looking at the text messages on my phone, and it was like in Greek. I was like, what is happening? That's right. Mark Teixeira. That's right. Mark Teixeira is running for Congress. Big tax running for Congress. He'll be at 8 tomorrow. And then Wesley Hunt is he's one of the guys running for Senate. So we got Cornyn, the incumbent, who pretends to be conservative every 6 years for a couple of weeks. And then we got Paxton. Ken Paxton is the Attorney General. He's the wild, radical guy on the right. And then Wesley Hunt. I don't know much about him, so talk to him one. It's 8 to shares at 8, and then Hunt at 8:30. All right, so this is, and one of the questions I want to ask these guys is, what the heck is going on with your state? It's like weird things going on in Texas. Like all the Hindus moved. It's like, what? Why is the Dallas airport feel like I'm in Pakistan? What is happening there? How did this guy become a state rep?
I always tell people the day the Latino, African American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning.
You, by the way, you are the oppressor.
Because we are the majority in this country now. We have the ability to take over this country and to do what is needed for everyone and to make things fair. But the problem is our communities are divided. They're completely divided.
Our communities, all the oppressed peoples. In that same interview, he says in his district, he said 1/3 of the people in his district are undocumented. And he goes on and he says, and these are the people that do everything for you. They mow your lawns, they clean your houses. And I love when the left justifies slavery. It's one of my all-time favorite things. Oh, do you remember that? I forget what this was. I want to say Boston, maybe. And there was a woman who said, who took in a migrant. Took in a woman, migrant, female migrant. And she said, it's just great. It's so great to have Louisa here. She cooks and she cleans and she helps around the house. Wait, you just brought in a slave. What are you talking? Can you even hear yourself? Like, I have to imagine that woman. This is a couple years ago. I have to imagine that woman. Like, her family would have seen her on the news. Have you ever had a family member on the news? My mom was on the news once, many years ago. I was a kid. I was like 8 years old, but we distinctly remember because it was like for Thanksgiving or something. It was like a big shopping day, and it said Sharon Slater, and then underneath, it says like who you are. It said shopper. that was a joke forever. Shopper. And Slater, shopper. So clearly they said that this woman sent this video to her friends. I'm going to be on the news tonight. The news, Channel 6 was here. And then their friends a friend had to say, surely you have a slave living in your house. You're treating us just cooking and cleaning for you. That's not. And I remember the the congressperson in Vermont, I think it was, who literally said that the words she said at the town hall was that the migrants wipe our butts. When are we going to get to wipe our butts? She literally said that. So when the left justifies slavery, you just let them go. Let them go. But the point I want to make about this guy is he's not American. He's not American. He may have citizenship. I don't know. You have to be a citizen to run for state house in Texas, probably. So he's probably a citizen, but not American in any way. We've been asking this question. We will always ask it, what is an American? And maybe it's helpful to also ask what is not. Do a process of elimination. That guy's not American. One of the aspects of being an American, actually, is you have to love this place. You have to love everything about it. I don't like the Super Bowl halftime show yesterday, or the other day. I didn't like it. Okay? So you don't have to like everything. But I think maybe with one aspect of being an American is not wanting a genocide of white people. That should be under question. Do you think all the minority groups should band together and commit a mass genocide of the whites? That's a good, okay, you do. All right, well, then this is Bakari Sellers. He's a popular guy. He's on CNN often. Here's on Don Lemon Show.
Thank you for stopping. Are you using our mobile app today? If not, go ahead when you're ready.
Yeah, mobile order QG68 for Norm.
All right, now I'm trying to run the first one. Okay.
Right? We need an exorcism, for lack of a better term. We need a more aggressive approach to go in and surgically remove the cancer that is the Donald Trump and MAGA movement. Fumigation. Yikes. By the way, shout out to my wife. We had not a mouse sighting, but evidence of mouse being in the pantry.
Kidding me?
And a visit by Ralph the mouse. It's a mouse droppings left behind. My wife is terrified of mice. And she stuck around. She still is living in the house. I thought we'd have to burn it or sell it. I thought that was
Thank you.
See it.
You done with your fucking discussion?
So we got traps everywhere. And we haven't caught it. I haven't caught the guy. So my wife's like, where is it?
Hi.
Just like we either catch the mouse and then it's gone.
Thank you. You too.
Haven't caught it, which means it's gone too. Either way, it's gone. So just a quick word for power through that. But fumigation of MAGA. We need to fumigate all of MAGA from this country. What in the world will the left do when they get power? If they get power. You want to know what the right will do when we get power? Do you want to know what MAGA will do? Here's what MAGA will do. When MAGA gets power, we will deport illegal alien criminals who have already had deportation orders to be removed. And we're trying and may not be able to pass a bill that says you have to be an American citizen in order to vote. Those are the two big racist things that we've done. If you're an illegal alien who came here illegally and then murdered someone, we're going to find you and just send you back to Honduras. Okay? Like, oh, so racist. And then you have to prove you're a citizen when you register to vote. Those are the true things. Those are all horrible crimes against humanity committed by MAGA this last year. And we lowered some taxes and created the Trump MAGA account, which I think you can sign up for now or start signing up for. Oh, did you hear? Hey, everyone who sent me a link yesterday with a story about the name of the Trump accounts, I feel seen. I feel seen. I feel heard. I always make passing references to how annoying the tax code numbers are. Like, oh, I got to fill out a W-9 and the 1064-3. Like, what? And the Trump account, you know what the form for the Trump accounts are? The $1,000 Trump account thing? The form is called IRS Form 4547. Trump 4547, which is awesome and proves that you can name these forms whatever you want. So maybe we come up with better names than 1040C and stuff, because that's, you don't need to. If Trump could name this Form 4547, you can just make any number. Thank you for sending all that to me. That's great. So when we get in power, when the far right gets in power, we just make it, you have to prove you're a citizen to vote, and we're going to deport illegal alien murderers. And the left better come up with a solution to that problem. That's gotta exterminate that. But the left comes out and talks about like actual final solution stuff. And then you get the G. So we're doing this horrible stuff, apparently, MAGA. And then the Gene Woos of the country speak out about the need for people of color to unite against white people. Listen, I said this years ago. We said this during Black Lives Matter. You can keep playing this game, all you Black Lives Matter people, whatever. Keep playing this game. But don't be surprised when white people at a certain point are like, yes, I am white. Okay? I'm guessing most people never thought of themselves as white. Just a person. But you guys went on and on. And now you're talking about exterminating and banding together against white people. And at a certain point, white people are going to be like, oh, I guess I'm white. And then at a certain point, people are going to say, Gene Woo, what are you doing here? Actually, who let you in? This is a video of a migrant / invader in England. They're outside the Birmingham Cathedral. And this cathedral was built in the 1700s, beautiful stone cathedral, massive stained glass windows. Really, really stunning Corinthian columns on the inside. And the interviewer there, British guy, and he sees a migrant walking past. A migrant here, looking stylish. He's got a big phone, drinking a Coke, headphones on, walking by the Birmingham. Well, what do you think of Birmingham Cathedral? He said it's crap.
It's a nice place to smoke weed. It's not my ancestors. I don't know whose ancestors those are.
It's not your ancestors.
No, it's not. No.
What do you think of the Birmingham Cathedral? It's like a great place to smoke weed. Not my ancestors. The migrant will come in. The invader will come in crap all over your history, crap all over your ancestry, crap all over your culture. They say this is a great place to smoke weed. Now, in this migrant's defense, this cathedral is run by the Church of England, which is now run by Sarah Mullally, the first female leader of the Church of England. So the church has been completely gutted already. The Birmingham Cathedral was bombed during World War II, and it was actually gutted by bombs and then rebuilt. Now the church has been gutted again. Well, they did it themselves. Sarah supports gay marriage. So what even is this church? What is the purpose of it? What's it doing there? It's nothing. It's not doing anything. It's been abandoned. And when things get abandoned, they get spray painted. It's been desecrated from within. And of course, it's going to be desecrated by people from the outside too. And similar things happen in America. We're bringing in people who hate this country, but we're also raising, I don't know, Gene Wu was probably born here, so we're raising people like him here on our own. We're tearing down our own history. I don't know anything about this fella, John Boyle. Don't know him, never heard of him until the other day. But he's doing this fun series for Black History Month February. And I've seen, it's the 10th, I've seen, he does one every day, and I've seen maybe 4. And everyone I've seen has been right. And this one's about Sally Hemings. We've talked about Sally Hemings before. It's not true. But Monticello, taken over by the left. Monticello is basically a Sally Hemings memorial right now. And the Smithsonian, before Trump came here, it was all about, anytime it's about Thomas Jefferson, it's all about Sally Hemings. And Trump came in and got rid of all the DEI and all that. And they took down like 30 plaques about Sally Hemings. Just, you go to Monticello, there's nothing there about the actual signing of the Declaration of Independence, the writing. The guy who wrote the Declaration of Independence, it's all about Sally Hemings.
Day 3 of exposing Black history because it literally didn't even happen. We've probably heard about Thomas Jefferson allegedly having sex with one of his black slaves, Sally Hemings. Apparently they had a bunch of kids together. You learn all about this in school. If you go to Monticello, Jefferson's estate, it's all you hear about. And this is, of course, done because they would like to further tar the image of the men who founded our country. The good news is that it's literally not even true. Sally Hemings was not even black like they portray her now to be. She was 3/4 white, 1/4 black. Brittany then she would be more black than she was. She had fair skin, straight hair, the whole 9 yards. They need you to believe that she was fully 100% black because that's what suits their narrative. Okay, fine. What was the relationship that they even had? Well, Sally was Jefferson's daughter's servant. Thousands of letters, tens of thousands of letters. The only thing Jefferson ever says about her is Marie's servant is doing well after having a child. And the only time Sally was ever with Jefferson outside of her time in Monticello was in Paris. And she wasn't even the person that he requested to accompany him. He wanted an older woman to accompany his daughter and care for her, but Sally was the only one available because she was inoculated against smallpox. And even though she was 14 when his daughter Marie was 9, when the two stayed with the Adams in France, they said that Sally was even more childish than the 9-year-old daughter Marie. And if you know anything about Jefferson, it does not exactly match up with his taste in women. When Jefferson was in Paris and he's building up the roster, he had a couple women that he was going after, writing letters to. One was a relative of Alexander Hamilton, and the other was Maria Cosway, to whom he wrote his famous love letter, The Dialogue Between My Head and My Heart, wherein he describes with intricate detail the duel between his head and his heart over how smitten he's become with her. The point being, Thomas Jefferson was a highly intelligent, aristocratic guy who was going after highly intelligent, mature, aristocratic English women, not exactly 14-year-old immature slave girls. Where does this even come from in the first place? Well, there was a paternity test that showed that Eston Hemings, only Eston Hemings, not her other son, Thomas Woodson, was a match with Jefferson's Y chromosomes. Okay, so that's literally it. Conclusive proof. Jefferson, you are the father. No, because that DNA also matched Randolph Jefferson, Thomas's younger brother, and his 5 sons. A little bit about this Randolph character. He was described by the Monticello slave Isaac Jefferson as Old Master's brother, Mass Randolph, a mighty simple man who used to come out among black people, play the fiddle, and dance half the night. He was also known for going to bed with them after
Mercury was done playing. And wouldn't you know it, guess who was invited to come hang out at Monticello 9 months before Eston Hemmings was born? Randolph Jefferson and his kids. So who do you think is more likely to be the father? The sensitive young man who writes sappy love letters to English aristocrats and had to stay home for 2 days because he had a terrible headache after he embarrassed himself in front of a girl he likes? Or his brother who liked to get down, party with slaves, and was also known to have a little bit of an appetite for black queens? Keep Thomas Jefferson's name out your mouth. Truth matters. I love black people. John tore out the place. I play that because it's the same thing. The people who say that, talk about Sally Hemings, it's the same thing as that migrant in Birmingham. What do you think of the Birmingham Cathedral? I think it's crap. Great place to smoke weed. Not my ancestors. Same thing here. What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? Oh, I think he's crap. It's not my ancestors. It's not my history. It says most Americans because that's what they were taught. Taught lies like this. So why did that lie? I'll move on. I'll make the bigger point, but just to drive home the Sally Hemings. Why did they make up the Sally Hemings lie? It started from a black woman historian. She said, Jefferson has been called the personification of America. For some people, there's enormous symbolic value if the personification of America mixed his blood with a black person. If you look at the flip side of it, rejecting the story is a part of the rejection of black people's birthright and claims to America. So it's twofold. So we need to tar the legacy of Jefferson as a rapist of slave children. Also, we need to increase the claim that black people have a birthright and claim to America. And if they do, this is from the leftist perspective, if they can make that claim, then black activists can make demands for whatever they want to today, which is just more political power in every way. So you see the plan there with that total lie that most people believe. Pretty wild. I'll end on this, and then we'll go to our next guest here. We're gonna make a decision. Let me go to Brian. Caller gets the tie-breaking vote. We were just talking about this in the last segment, so we can pause this off. I want to hear from people in the business. Brian in North Carolina. Hey, Brian.
Hey, how are you doing? Thanks for taking my call. I know you've been going a little bit, but I've got a cousin that's been in almost every aspect of law enforcement you could imagine, from local sheriff to Secret Service. And so there's 2 towns here in North Carolina that lobbied for the officers to have body cams and spent, I don't know, however many thousands of dollars of taxpayer money to install body cams. And it took about 6 or 8 months. And when the public started to see what these officers had to deal with on a daily basis, the same people that were lobbying for the body cams all of a sudden started saying, no, we don't need the body cams anymore.
Love it. Because not only the heightened moment where, that person actually was armed and attacking the police officer, but even just general, normal, day-to-day interactions with people all the time.
It was more the day-to-day interactions, just the level of excrement that those law enforcement officers have to put up on a daily basis from the public. Nobody wanted to see it. Nobody believed it.
Yeah. Amazing. Did they get rid of them, or are they just calling to get rid of them?
I think they're calling to get rid of them, but now you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah, that's good. I love it. It's one of the greatest backfires of all time on our side. Brian, appreciate the call. Thanks, brother. You're so right. People have no idea what the police officers deal with, and the depravity that they see every single day. Every single day. There are police officers all across the country right now who are going to get calls today for a child abuse. In my hope, in my day-to-day, I'm not going to have any involvement with child abuse. With the sadness of it, the darkness of it, the pain of it, all. I'm going to have zero interaction with it my entire day. Police officers will have multiple calls where they see abused children or domestic violence calls where children are neglected and living in. They'll see the worst of the worst in our neighborhoods. We have no connection to that problem. And then as they're seeing that, which is emotionally difficult enough, they're also getting attacked and abused. And also there's a threat that someone may come out on a court with gunshot. And then when they respond to a scene, we're like, oh, come on, came out a little hot there, came out a little aggressive. Why'd you overreact? 866-95-PATRIOT, 866-95-PATRIOT. We'll take a break. We'll come back and talk about something Pete Hegseth sent out the other day. And it hasn't gotten enough attention, but he wants it to be a big deal. And I don't think it's been a big enough deal, so we're going to make it a big deal. 8A. We need to rebrand it. 8A is in the South. 8A what? A reform to 8A. What is that? We'll explain next by Senator Breitbart News Report.
We, the people of the United States. This week in American history. February 12th, 1809. Abraham Lincoln was born in Kentucky, destined to lead the United States through the Civil War and issue the Emancipation Proclamation. And on February 14th, 1912, Arizona joined the Union as the 48th state, completing the contiguous United States and expanding the nation westward. Counting down to America 250 only on Sirius XM Patriot 125.
And like I said, my dad passed away at the age of 63. He was in great health. It's out of nowhere. I'm sure. And super hard, obviously, for the family, but my dad had life insurance. So even after he passed away, he was still able to provide for my mom, of course, by extension, my brother and I. This is why I have life insurance for my family, my wife, and 4 kids. The best place to get life insurance is ethos.com. Because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. 10 minutes. You're covered. Your family is covered. You get $2 million of coverage for $2 a day. That's a 10-year term life policy for a 35-year-old healthy non-smoking male. We don't like to talk about death in our culture, but everyone's going to die. You're going to die. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, ethos.com/Slater. Rates may vary, billed monthly. Ethos.com/Slater.
This Valentine's Day goes straight to their heart with rich, decadent brownies from Vermont Brownie Company. Hi, I'm Shauna Litsky, founder of Vermont Brownie Company. When I started over 15 years ago, I had one goal in mind: to bake the best brownies around using the freshest ingredients. Today, we have lots of delicious flavors, including maple toffee crunch, peanut butter, and our award-winning chef brownie, that beat Bobby Flay. All of our brownies are baked in Vermont using local farm-fresh ingredients and individually wrapped for freshness and sharing with your Valentines. The best part, your gifts ship free in your choice of Valentine's Day packaging. Order today for Valentine's Day because we have sold out. Ordering is easy. Just visit us at vermontbrownie.com. This Valentine's Day, give your sweetheart, best friend, kids, parents, grandparents, everyone you care about what they really love. Gourmet brownies from Vermont Brownie Company.
Sirius XM Triumph. Get real answers with Dr. Laura.
No nonsense advice about relationships, marriage, kids.
Tough love.
It happens. It's not a phrase anybody uses when they take responsibility.
Inspiration.
Every time you go to bed with a negative thought, you have to match it up with a positive one. It's your new rule.
Dr. Laura. Plus, Glenn Beck, Nancy Grace, and Dave Ramsey. All on Triumph. Sirius XM 123. And on the Sirius XM app.
From the Global News Network of Breitbart.com, this is Breitbart News Daily with your host, Mike Slater.
When President Trump appointed your Secretary of War, I made you a series of promises. I promised that every single one of your taxpayer dollars will go toward one thing and one thing only. Johnson, Republican of Wisconsin, was Congressman Tom Tiffany, Republican from Wisconsin.
When we were kids.
You're not hanging on to this, are you?
About my brother passing.
No, I didn't ask that right. You're going to hang on to that for the rest of your life, but I hear a hint of, tell me if I'm wrong, but I hear a hint of somehow you feel like you're part of it. You played a role.
I think as I was looking through the timeline, the hard part that I have about the timeline is I know this is going to sound crazy, Dr. John. I had a premonition when I was younger about how my brother was going to die and how I was going to find out about it. And it happened exactly the way I had the premonition. And the last thing I said before I went to bed with my parents, we were about ready to, we were actually going to do an intervention the next day and go up and use that another one of our family's properties. And say, hey, we love you, Johnny. You know, you're screaming for help here. We got you hours away from us. It said, unfortunately, my brother and I don't have the greatest relationship right now. And I guess I'm going to have to be okay with that for the time being. And then I went to bed and I found out in the middle of the night. So it was...
Listen to me real carefully, Kathleen. Listen to me.
Yeah.
Your brother's death is not your fault.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
You gotta choose to believe that, right?
Mhm.
You have to let that into your chest. I can hear you reflecting it.
Yeah, it's hard, you know. If that makes, you know, sometimes I wonder if I was if he would have done something differently, would it have changed?
It's the haunting question that all people are left with when loved ones pass away, especially the way he died.
Mm-hmm.
He has revealed that today, $100 million of spending go out from the Pentagon every day to these quote-unquote minority middlemen. They call it a joint venture or mentor-protege, and what it really does is it feeds the business with a kickback, like a cut, maybe 10%, maybe 20, up to 50% to the middlemen, and then it actually gets to the contractors that's going to implement the work. And it's just my experience, and this wasn't with DOD, this was in my own embassy. They hired a minority contractor because it was required to do a renovation, supposed to be an 18-month renovation, and the cost overruns, and I think it went on 5 years. They went bankrupt, another team had to come in because they didn't use the best of the best, and they didn't have this, they didn't have to bid for the contract and actually deliver a product at a good price. In other words, no bid contract. And some people go, oh, it's good because it lets us fast track things. Well, change the procurement process. It's broken. So change that rather than doing this corruption.
Okay, so tell me more about the middleman. How does that part work?
Well, there's a couple different ways it works. First of all, we've seen it with the NGOs too, how we have these corporations around, they really are surrounding Washington, D.C., and they take a cut of it, and then eventually it goes to the actual company that's going to do the work. So the people that are enriching themselves are the people that are feeding at this, I'll just call it a trust. But it also involves, unfortunately, frontmen like Alaskan Natives, Native Americans, minorities, sometimes women. It has to be women-owned or minority-owned. Well, President Trump is working to root out the DEI. They've made it illegal, but in some cases, it's still being used.
Okay, so hold on. Let me try to get this right. So you're at the Department of Defense or whatever, and you want to hire someone to build a wall, but you are forced to, or you decide to hire a minority company to do it. So you'll hire an Alaskan Native, because that's the minority group.
As a front.
As a front. So they're not doing the work. Like the Eskimos are not doing the work. The Inuits are not doing the work. They just take 20% off the top, and then they have guys in Texas do it.
Yes. And I think James O'Keefe did a video that revealed that he did a sting video with a lady who was bragging about how they were making money doing this. Listen, fraudsters will do fraud, but it's up to the federal government that's responsible for, being diligent and doing good with our tax dollars to root it out. So the fact is, people who are doing this should not be doing it. The federal government should stop it, and that's what Pete Hegseth is doing. But it's not just Pete at the DOD or Department of War. It's also SBA. Kelly Loeffler is working to root out the fraud. She's found billions of dollars of fraud in California, in Minneapolis, where these minorities are taking advantage of SBA, even people that aren't U.S. citizens. Indian immigrants from India are also taking advantage, and they're literally using our tax dollars to buy American businesses, so they don't have to put skin in the game. They're literally taking our money. These aren't American citizens and buying American businesses. So it is so encouraging. It should make every American proud. Every American, no matter what side of the aisle they're on, that President Trump and his team, like literally across the board, are working to root out fraud. And the billions that they're discovering, if you think about the Somalian fraud and just so much fraud, and then the Armenian fraud in California, it's very exciting. That's the one that Dr. Oz has been talking about. So if people can just, give kudos to this hardworking administration that's doing the right thing, and aren't we happy that it's finally happening? Because we all knew it was a lot of money we were spending, and what were we getting back? If you look at other countries, their tax dollars are usually spent with less corruption. And this corruption is often immigrant corruption. It's not always. Of course, American citizens can do bad things. But it's just shocking to see the abuse by people that come to our wonderful, welcoming, open country and then abuse the system.
Okay. All right. We're going to tie this into a couple of things. We're talking about Ambassador Carlos Sainz from America First Policies. So in the last hour of the show, we talked about Zohran Mamdani and in the name of kindness, leaving homeless people out on the streets to die during the cold snap they had recently. So the last number I saw was 16 people dead. Probably more. And it's done in the name of kindness. Like, oh, we don't want to force them to go inside because that's mean, to force someone to go to a shelter. So in the name of kindness, they just let people die in the streets. And I'm going to relate it here to this program, this 8A program, because it was done with good intentions in the beginning, maybe. But in the name of kindness, we just continued to let fraudsters pretend that they were doing things in the name of helping minorities. So we just let this program go on to help minority business owners. But it wasn't. I said it wasn't helping minority business owners. It was a big fraud scheme where people would just front as if, and then we would all just go along with it, just being like, oh, well, at least we're pretending we're helping minority business owners. Is that the right characterization?
Yeah, I think that, white men had often run these companies and profited from the business. And I think there was an idea, look, we should diversify, let women have some of these deals, minorities have some of these deals, open it up and make it more diverse. And, that was decades ago. And I do understand why it happened. It's just gone awry. What's happened is white men are now being discriminated against. So the good intentions have actually become malicious. You try being a white young man trying to get into a top college, competing against women and immigrants and minorities, even if you have perfect SAT scores, I'll bet you don't get in. And that's wrong too. So how can we make things right? It's don't discriminate. Use meritocracy, and that's what made America great. Our founders understood the best and the brightest are going to rise to the top, and they should be the leaders. And we shouldn't push people to the top that don't have the capabilities to lead or to do good. And there have to be standards. There's right and wrong, and there's good and evil. And if people are doing wrong, look at this woman, Ilhan Omar, and what she's been accused of doing, and she's still in the U.S. Congress. So there have to be consequences to breaking the law and to bad behavior. But I just don't see that happening yet. But I think that would be the next point. And I'll just say that the weaponization of the government and law in every way against President Trump and his supporters since he went down the escalator until he's been reelected by the entrenched bureaucracy and elected leaders, starting with Obama on down, they have not seen consequences. And I think the American people, and especially the voters who voted for Trump, demand consequences for these. They clearly, it looks like they broke the law, and they used their power to target an individual and to make up crimes, kind of like what the USSR, Soviet Union, used to do. You show me the man, I'll find you the crime. There have to be consequences. So whether it's the 8A and taking that down and regaining a meritocracy, you can't have quotas for minorities or women. You cannot have quotas. What you end up with is this dystopia that we've created.
Yeah, so this is how you said for decades, this program, 8A, has been a breeding ground for fraud. This administration is finally doing something about it. Effective immediately, I'm ordering a line-by-line review of every small business sole source 8A contract. That is over $20 million, and then we'll look at everything smaller than that too, starting with difference. First, if a contract doesn't make us more lethal, it's gone. We have no room in our budget for wasteful DEI contracts that don't help us win wars, period, full stop. Second, we're doing away with these pass-through schemes. This is the first thing you mentioned. We'll make sure that every small business getting the contract is the one actually doing the work, and not just some shell company funneling your money to a giant consulting firm. Well, I can't believe we were doing this for so long, but actually, I obviously can, because we were making a lot of money. It's just free money coming out of the Department of War, so whatever. Gosh, that's wild. All right, well, good on Trump for that one. I'll give you one more, Ambassador, sort of on just in the fraud world. In the opening segment of the show, we talked about the mayor of Bend, Oregon, and we told the story of this Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang member guy who did a horrific, I can't repeat it here, just horrific crime to a woman in order to get the PIN number out of her debit card and take all of her money from her. So they ended up catching the guy. They knew who the guy was. And they were following him. They found him at a drug den house in a Portland suburb where there was underage prostitution and just all the most horrific things you can imagine. And it turns out this house was listed as the address of Uplifting Journey LLC, an addiction recovery center that received $2.3 million in state Medicaid funds over the last 2 years. That was also connected to a $60 million Medicaid fraud ring that was funneling money out of Arizona to Rwanda. Like, hold on. I always thought that fraud was maybe like waste fraud abuse is like a 2% problem. A little bit about the edges, maybe we're leaving a couple crumbs on the floor. But now I'm thinking that fraud's like half. Sure, like what? How much have you seen in your days in government? Like what percentage are we talking about?
It's so shocking, the fraud. But first it started with Doge, right? And we were all so excited about them finding the fraud, taking the people off the Medicare rolls that were all 200 years old and 150 years old. I mean, they took maybe 13 million people off, which is so exciting to put systems in. But the fact that the Trump administration is revealing this is really important. But how do we get that money back, and how do we make sure it doesn't happen again? That's also really important. And we need Congress to codify the changes that the Trump administration officials are making. And I just don't see Congress moving with all speed to get this done. And even that, the vote, what is it called, the Great America Vote thing, making sure people have ID and prove their citizenship and vote in person. I mean, the common sense law needs to be passed quickly. And I think that if the House and Senate do pass those kinds of laws and codify ending the fraud like you're talking about with $60 million going to Rwanda, and it's so much bigger, that we will win the midterms. I think that the Trump voters and the Republicans they're feeling like, they're waiting for action from Congress and the Senate, and we just see it feels like so little action.
Yes, no, for sure. I'm talking with former Ambassador Carlos Sands, Ambassador to Denmark and Greenland. If we may pivot over there, we'll continue to follow 8A, but wonderful news. Thanks for explaining that. What came of the whole Denmark-Greenland conversations at, what's it called? Davos, World Economic Forum. And is that the end of the negotiations? Did we get what we want? Is that the end of it, or was that just a step in the process? Where are we at right now?
It's still working. There's now a Greenland caucus. And I was just up in Harvard over Friday and Saturday talking about Greenland. People in Europe are interested. They're upset. They don't understand how important it is to our shared security and the fact that it's unsecure right now. I mean, that's really, that's the crux of it. Is President Trump is securing the Western Hemisphere, whether it's Greenland or Venezuela, making sure that doesn't become the breeding ground of Iran and Hezbollah training camps and Russia and China, because they're all there still, and how that's bleeding over into other areas. China controlling our ports in Panama. All this, President Trump is really heroically reinstituting the Monroe Doctrine. I like to think it now should be called the Trump Doctrine, because it's about making all of us safer and not allowing our hemisphere to fall to adversaries. Even talking about Canada with the unfair trade that they have for us. They rely on us for most of their trade, and yet they're over there now making an intelligence sharing deal with the Chinese Communist Party, making a special trade deal. I mean, they are really on the wrong track, and that's a very important thing because we share a huge border with Canada, and they're part of that Western Hemisphere security. They're part of NORAD. And I think if your listeners wanted one takeaway, is that President Trump is on track with securing Greenland. He has our interests, and I will just say the Greenlanders and the Danes' best interests. When I was ambassador, there were 30 Danish soldiers and 2 dog sled teams. that was it, to secure the world's largest island. And they had very little ability to understand what was above, on, and below this giant sea around Greenland. It's called the GIUK gap, Greenland, Iceland, and the UK. All those seas are involved with that security, and Denmark doesn't have the ability to secure either the island or the seas.
So you would say, though, this isn't over. So after Davos, there was a lot of like, oh, well, we got something, but not a lot, and who cares? And why did we go through that whole rigmarole? And we got what we kind of already had. But you're saying we're not done yet with the process.
No. They're working now. It's the Vice President J.D. Vance's team and Secretary of State Marco Rubio's teams are working with the Danes and the Greenlanders, and they're not happy. The Greenlanders and the Danes aren't happy because they want things to continue the same way that they've been for all these decades. But they cannot. The situation is untenable. So I don't know what it'll look like at the end of the day. They keep talking about their red lines. Well, their red lines, I mean, China could take it in a minute. Their economic predation, or just by working with Russia, which has a much bigger presence in the Arctic than we do. If we have, a couple of icebreakers, Russia has more than 40, and some of them have missiles on them. Very different situation.
Hold on a minute. What were you doing at Harvard? Were you talking to students at Harvard, and what were their thoughts on how, Trump's so ridiculous, the stupidest idea I've ever heard, or what was their attitude?
Yeah, it was about European-U.S. cooperation, and I did a panel on the Arctic and Greenland, and then I did another one on the way forward with cooperation and does NATO matter. And in the Europeans, when I talked about the great Western civilization and the fact that we enjoy our amazing lives because of our ancestors, and most of the thought that came from Europe and the UK and our laws, which are Judeo-Christian, they come from the Christian Bible and the Ten Commandments and the British common law, and they were very unhappy. They hissed and booed at me when I started to talk about our shared Christian heritage. So it's a really interesting thing. Mostly European students at the Kennedy School, at MIT, and other nearby universities, and then other professors and parliamentarians from around the world. It was eye-opening, but a lot of them came up and thanked me because they told me that they had never heard that side before. So we need political diversity at every university, but especially the universities that are training world leaders.
Yes, way to go to the belly of the beast. Carla Sands, she's the chair of Foreign Policy Initiative at America First Policy Institute, former ambassador to Denmark and Greenland. It is really fun, Ambassador, to watch America First Policy Institute on the ascent and just doing amazing things and growing and thriving. So give my best to everyone in America First.
Thank you, Mike. As is Breitbart. Andrew Breitbart would be so proud.
Wonderful. Thanks, man. We'll talk soon.
Thanks.
Have a great day. I'd love to find the video too of her speaking at Harvard. I've been to many an Ivy League lecture where a speaker comes in and there's hissing, and desk. They slam on the desks. Hiss. They hit the desks. Bunch of animals. Mike Slater, Breitbart News Daily. Spread the word.
ICE is finally allowed to do its job under this administration, and the videos tell the story. Agents confronting people who are interfering, popping up against basic law enforcement. Listen live weekdays at 9 a.m. on Sirius XM Patriot.
Newsman, you like Newsmax? I like it too. Newsman, you like Newsmax? I like it too. It's true. Millions of Americans agree with President Trump, and they're switching to Newsmax. They're watching great shows with Greta, Carl Higbie, Rob Schmidt, Finnerty, and more. If you're tired of big media, start watching Newsmax. It's free to start. Go to newsmaxplus.com for immediate access. Get all of President Trump's most important events live. Imagine watching Mike Huckabee's Israel Report, our Melania documentary, Clint Eastwood, Charlie Kirk specials, even the movie Jesus of Nazareth by Franco Zeffirelli. Once you start Newsmax Plus, you won't stop. So try it for free. Go to newsmaxplus.com, then download the app. It's easy. So make the switch to Newsmax Plus today.
He's Donald Trump's #1 enemy in Congress, Chicago politician Dick Durbin. Now, Durbin has a new scheme. He's doing the dirty work to benefit corporate mega stores. Durbin's bill could cut corners on your credit card security, putting your personal data at risk. Big chain retailers and warehouse stores want to inflate their profits, and liberal Dick Durbin would help them do it. Tell senators, say no to the mega stores and Dick Durbin. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
If you missed open enrollment or enrolled into an ACA Marketplace plan, it's not too late. You can get into a private health insurance plan now with Health Revolution. If you're reasonably healthy and don't need maternity coverage, you can save 30 to 60% on your monthly premiums with zero copays, lower deductibles, and use any doctor. Call Health Revolution today at 800-868-6187. 800-868-6187. And we can custom design a plan managed by you, not the government.
You've heard that resveratrol is a top 5 natural anti-aging supplement that also reduces joint pain and increases blood circulation. The problem is most supplements have low purity, not mega resveratrol, and 99% pure. Used by over 100 universities for research. Upgrade to mega resveratrol. Get 20% off at megaresveratrol.com/XM. That's megaresveratrol.com/XM. Mega resveratrol. This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Economic opportunity.
Moral order. Conservative principles live here.
We are
Sirius XM Patriot, Channel 125. Sirius XM Patriot presents Breitbart News Daily with your host, Mike Slater.
Yeah, this 8A program, that's a pretty good scheme. We're going to give money to minority-run businesses. So some Eskimos come up and say, we'll build the wall. And then we give it to them, and they just take the money and give it to just like a normal contractor. Like normal guys would not have gotten a contract otherwise because they're not minority enough. And then the Eskimos take 20% off. That's pretty good fraud. Steve is in Ohio. Hey, Steve.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good. Give me an 8A story.
Well, the automotive industry has long been involved in that minority development structure that has lent itself to untold levels of abuses relative to that. It started out, and honestly, it's got some good bones to it, or good intentions to it. You're trying to help a minority individual, right? It doesn't matter what your status is. And they've got different classifications for all of them in order to try to get them into, say, being a supplier into the automotive industry, or say to the government, or something along those lines. The problem with it is that, like any good intention, there's always that group of people that are going to figure out a way around it in order to enrich themselves by renting that minority's status, putting them as the president of the company, paying them, and then moving forward. So you're really not getting any minority development per se, other than the individual that happens to be the face of it.
What a great scam. It's great. Steve, thanks for the call. Someone called and they hung up, but they said he knows someone who knows someone who's guy owns a business and he put his wife on as the owner of the company. So now it's a woman-owned business. Ridiculous. All right, so this has got to stop. Okay, the game's got to stop. Who cares about any of that nonsense? It's done. You hire the best person. Who gets the job done the best, lowest price? But it's not necessarily just the lowest price that matters. You want to find the right balance. You got to get done right. All that. Right? There should be normal people again, and none of this nonsense. All right, Olympics today. Here's what I know. Sure, there's other things going on. Yesterday wasn't a great day for America. We're 4th in women's speed skating. A short track speed skating starts today. That's one of the most fun things to watch because these guys train their whole lives to do this short track speed skating thing, and then they go and they just kind of like slowly go around the track like 20 times, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, now I'll race. And then they fall, they like trip into each other, and then all of them fall to the ice, and then the one guy in the back wins the gold medal. And you're like, what is that sport? So that starts today. That's fun. But at noon, we have the gold medal match for mixed curling. 2 Americans. I think I heard that he's a real estate agent from North Dakota. That's great. So he's going to win a gold medal today. That's at noon, and then the women's hockey team plays Canada at 2 o'clock Eastern. So noon Eastern and 2 o'clock Eastern. That better be on in the background of your work. Team USA. We'll root for the people who love this country. Like I said, Breitbart News Daily. Spread the word.
and people rely on me. I can't let them down. I applied online at linseek.com and had business funding in 24 hours. Display. All of our brownies are baked in Vermont using local farm fresh ingredients and individually wrapped for freshness and sharing with your Valentines. The best part, your gifts ship free in your choice of Valentine's Day packaging. Order today for Valentine's Day because we have sold out. Ordering is easy. Just visit us at vermontbrownie.com. This Valentine's Day, give your sweetheart, best friend, kids, parents, grandparents, everyone you care about what they really love. Gourmet brownies from Vermont Brownie Company.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value for your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
Strong national defense.
Sanctity of life.
Conservative principles live here.
We are
Sirius XM Patriot Channel 125.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Today's show co-host Savannah Guthrie says kidnapping of her mother Nancy, the ongoing uncertainty about her mom's status, are taking a terrible emotional toll on her and her siblings.
We are at an hour of desperation.
Appealing for any shred of help the public might be able to offer, and thanking those who continue steadfast in prayer.
God is lifting her even in this moment, in this darkest place.
Investigators say they have not identified any suspects or persons of interest, although the family has offered to meet a ransom demand. Apparently, the kidnappers are not reaching out to the family. Republicans and Democrats bitterly divided over federal agents wearing masks. This as Congress works to avert another partial government shutdown. Facing Friday's midnight deadline, lawmakers are locked in a debate over funding Homeland Security. And the central question is whether to ban face masks by immigration enforcement officers. The House Democratic leader says unmasking the federal agents is a hard red line in the negotiations. But most Republicans say the current political climate leaves the immigration officers exposed to harassment if their faces and identities are made public. Greg Clugston, Washington. 6,000 San Francisco public school teachers manning the picket lines this morning.
It's the city's first such walkout in nearly 50 years. The strike comes after teachers and the district failed to reach an agreement over higher wages, health benefits, and more resources for students with special needs. San Francisco Unified School District closed all 120 of its schools and said it would offer independent study to some of its 50,000 students.
And that's correspondent Bill Alexander reporting. On Wall Street, ahead of this morning's opening bell, the Dow futures are down 25 points. Nasdaq futures 4 points higher. More of these stories, townhall.com.
Newsmax, you like Newsmax. I like it too. Newsmax, you like Newsmax. I like it too.
It's true. Millions of Americans agree with President Trump, and they're switching to Newsmax. They're watching great shows with Greta, Carl Higbie, Rob Schmidt, Finnerty, and more. If you're tired of big media, start watching Newsmax. It's free to start. Go to NewsmaxPlus.com for immediate access. Get all of President Trump's most important events live. Imagine watching Mike Huckabee's Israel Report, our Melania documentary, Clint Eastwood, Charlie Kirk specials, even the movie Jesus of Nazareth by Franco Zeffirelli. Once you start Newsmax Plus, you won't stop. So try it for free. Go to NewsmaxPlus.com, then download the app. It's easy. So make the switch to Newsmax Plus today. Indonesia is ready to send up to 8,000 troops to Gaza as part of President Trump's peace plan for the territory.
The timing of the Indonesian troop deployment and their exact role in Gaza have not yet been finalized, but it appears that